Yes, bache, we are going to start the chapter, The Happy Prince, chapter number 5. Happy Prince was a beautiful statue. This chapter is about a statue. He was covered with gold. He had sapphire for eyes and a ruby in his sword. You might be having in mind that he is used for the statue because in the story also we'll see that it is taken as a living being, in the sense it talks to the bird also. It is having this bird is having a good role in this chapter. So he has fire for eyes. It was all covered with gold, and it has very precious stones also, and a ruby in his sword. Why did he want to part with all the gold? But later we come to know that it wants to part with the gold or all the precious material it was having. Why did he want to part with all the gold that he had and his precious stones? High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. But this is the description of the statue. As you are guided earlier, that you will be having long questions, and in long questions you may be asked to describe the character also. Okay. So if you get the description of the statue, we can add all this description. High above the city on a tall column is a high platform, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over, covered with thin leaves of fine gold. As you see the picture, on the spot of the Happy Prince, like a warrior, it is dressed like a warrior, and all the lower part of the dress, it was covered with the golden leaves, thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires, and a large and red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. For eyes he had two bright sapphires. For eyes means when this statue was made, for eyes very precious stones sapphires were used. Sapphires is also another kind of, just like the diamond, ruby, all are costly stones. A large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. Sword hilt, where we have that cover of the sword. There a red ruby glowed. Glowed is a verb, means it was shining. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. Swallow is a bird. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. Now in the story, here the story begins that a very little bird, that is swallow, it wanted to join his. You should go on marking the lines, but it is important how or why he later want to join his friends. He has not gone with his group. So he wanted. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt. His friends had gone to Egypt 6 weeks before, and he was left behind. So he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt. Now he wanted to join his friends. All day long he flew. In night time he arrived at the city. He had been flying the whole night, and now he arrived at the city. Where shall I put up? Put up means stay. Where should I take rest? He said, I hope the town has made preparations. Preparation means all are at rest. He was not getting any place to stay or take rest. The safe place he wanted. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. I will put up there, he cried. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. He wanted to take rest. It is fine position with a plenty of fresh air, means he was feeling comfortable on that statue. So he alighted just between the feet of the Happy Prince. He just stayed for a few moments between the feet of the Happy Prince. I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself as he looked around. And we know that the skirt or it was covered, the prince was covered with leaves, golden leaves. So he was just on the place. He just placed near the feet of the happy prince, and it was all covered with the golden leaves from the top. So he was feeling like he was in the bedroom of gold. I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself as he looked round, and he prepared to go to sleep. So he started to go to sleep, but just as he was putting his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. And it might be the way of birds that take rest, that when they sleep, they just cover their head with the, as sometimes we cover with sheets or the pillow to take rest or not to get disturbed. Might be that the birds they sleep like this, as he was covering his face with the with his. So a large drop of water fell on him. We know that he was near the feet of the prince, so he was somewhere covered with the prince or the costume of the prince. But suddenly, what he felt, there is not a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing! He cried. He was curious from where he got this drop. There is not a single cloud. There was not a single cloud. Why? What was that? He was astonished. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it's raining. He felt that there are no clouds, but how it could be raining? Then another drop fell. Again a drop fell. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? We know that the purpose of that bird to lie under or near the feet of the prince was to keep himself safe. But he was not safe as he was having rain. What's the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. I must look for a good chimney pot. And he determined to fly away. Now he thought of to leave that place or leave the prince. But before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell. Again a drop fell. And he looked up and saw. Oh, what did he see? What he was seeing? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down with his golden cheeks. Now, what was that? He viewed that the tears or these drops were falling from the eyes of the prince. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. When he looked at the face of the prince or that statue, he was full of pity. Who are you? He said. I am the happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue. Now you will see that this somewhere the statue is personified. He is talking to the bird. What it says, I didn't know what tears were, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. Mark the line with a very important, that why this prince was called Happy Prince. And here the truth lies, that he tells the bird, I didn't know what tears were. He didn't know what tears were, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. He was not, or the sorrow was not allowed to enter, means in a way we can say that he was not allowed to come to see the common life, come into the contact of the normal life, common life, or the life of the common people. We know that our life is always, it is combination of happiness and sorrow. One day we are happy, one day on other moment we can say. In one situation we are happy, and in other moment we feel sad. So this, as this prince was not allowed to come into this sorrow was not allowed to enter the palace, in the sense that somewhere this nobody was allowed to come in the contact of the happy prince. We can understand the situation. So this happy prince never came to know that what is sorrow. So I didn't know what tears are, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me happy prince, and happy indeed I was. No doubt I was also happy. So I lived and so I died. Means he ever lived without coming in the contact of the court, or all the courtiers, they were allowed to make him happy always. So he lived happily. So I died, and he died the same way. And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all misery of my city. But now, what happened after that? That he was just allowed, he was not allowed to come into the contact of the public. He never came to know what was sorrow or so. But after death, his statue, it was no, you know that it was placed on that column, on that platform, high in the city. And from this that high place, he was able to see the misery of the people, the condition of the common people. What did he see? Sorry. While you were from the, I cannot. I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city, and though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but thee. Now mark this line, beta. His heart was made of lead. As he was also made of metal, his heart was also made of lead. And I cannot choose. And he had he was helpless. As he was helpless to provide some kind of help to the miserable people or to do something for the people. So he was feeling miserable. It might be that the prince was so emotional, so sensitive. That's why he was not allowed to come in the contact, or that sorrow was not allowed to enter the palace. In other words, so it's we feel that he was having the heart of lead, but still he was weeping. What is? What? Is he not solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remarks. Far away, continued the statue in a low musical voice. Far away in a little street there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Now we'll see that from this platform, from this column, this prince is able to peek into the houses of the people, or he is able to see the condition of the people. So what he is observing, that far away in a little street there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it, what he was watching, I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands. Coarse means rough. Red hands, all pricked by the needle. Means her hands were, they were all pricked with the needle. For she is a seamstress. Seamstress is a kind of the tailoress. And those who do something or do some work with the needle for on the dresses and all. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor. Queen's maids of honor, it is again a designation, it is a head. Queen's maids of honor means a staff head, as we can say. A staff head of the queen. To wear at the next court ball. Court ball, you understand? Court ball. But it is a kind of the, in gathering you might have seen on silver screen that when a party is organized, or these days also, but we have different kind of scenario, we have DJs and all. But court ball is a kind of dance. Holding each other with hands, and slow music is on, and people are dancing on in the home, together in couples, in pairs. So on a setting down for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball, in a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. A little boy, her son, is lying ill, and he has fever, and is asking his mother to give him oranges. The pity of the situation, or the we can say misery of the situation, was that the little boy who is ill, her little boy is asking for the oranges which she is not able to provide to him. So he has fever, his mother has nothing to give him but river water. So he is crying, swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? Now what this prince want? He want this swallow to prick the ruby from the hilt of the sword and pass it to that poor lady. We will see that how this prince, how kind, how generous this prince is. These are adjectives we can use when we describe the character. He was so kind-hearted, he was so generous, that he want other people miserable to help the miserable people. Will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hill? Now he wanted to. He wants to take help of this fellow. My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. So here is again a situation that we are watching. We are reading that this prince, he is made of metals, but he is still feeling emotional for the misery of the people and he wants to help, but he is helpless as he cannot move from the pedestal. I am waited for in Egypt. Means my friends are waiting for me in Egypt. My friends are flying up and down the Nile, and Nile is the name of the river. And talking to the large lotus flower, soon they will go to sleep. Means my friends are waiting there for me. I should reach there in time, otherwise they all will sleep. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. Messenger, you know, message who pass the message, that is the messenger. What he wants, he asks the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad. So this happy prince, he requests the swallow to help him or passes that ruby to that lady, that poor lady. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. He is this swallow. He is not so interested to help the. He just gives a lame excuse that I don't think I like boys. I don't like boys. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. But again and again, when he looked at the face of the happy prince, he was full of sympathy, we can say. It is too cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. Mark the line, it was the cold weather. It is also important that it was cold weather, but still, we know that these birds, they used to just move from one place. सुना ना आप लोगों ने जहाँ पे cold region में, when they are not able to survive, then they move to the other part of the region or the earth. Thank you, little swallow. Now he just decides. He agreed to stay with him for one night and be his passenger. So one agreement was there on the swallow. He took pity on the prince and decided to stay one more night and help the prince to help that poor lady. Okay, beta, we'll continue the next part tomorrow. Thank you.